Hello, anybody starting to watch this. My name is Jess Joyce. I call myself an SEO still. Not really sure what we call ourselves, but I did this presentation last week in Ottawa for a group at BDC, put on by BDC, Business Development Council of Canada. And I found it really resonated with the group because it was to a group of Series A founders throughout the Canadian ecosystem in Ottawa as a pre-SaaS North talk. So that was a lot of gobbledygook that I just threw at everyone. But I got some really great feedback on it, and I thought it was great that I would record this and upload it because the talk wasn't recorded. So I thought I'd redo my presentation again for the internet because that's fun. So again, my name is Jess, and my topic is called SEO and GEO. So it's a really timely time to talk about these things, I think, throughout the internet, because lots of folks in my space have very specific opinions on these. So I'd like to talk about my perspective from this whole space. And my talk was called Content to Build, Drive Visibility, and Pipeline. Cool. So who am I? And I'm just going to go through my Google Slides because this is very off the cuff, right? Again, my name is Jess Joyce. If I worked in SEO, that would have been enough keyword stuffing, right, for everything. I have been working specifically in B2B and B2B SaaS with B2B SaaS companies over the last little while to get folks found and trusted by the right buyers. Given the space at the moment, there's a lot of flux and craziness going on, so we have been focused on SEO and LLM visibility strategies to drive revenue and not just vanity metrics, because traffic is dying, unfortunately. So we work across a lot of B2B SaaS teams, across product, compliance, and communication software. We also work across teams internally, given product, content, marketing, dev, IT, all these things. We like to turn real product expertise into pipeline. It's marketing done in an SEO way. I went through 10 slides with folks, well, more than 10 slides, but 8 takeaways that turned into more than 10 slides. So this is what we're going to go through today, is that number one is SEO isn't dead. Are we calling it AEO, GEO, LLMO? I've heard a bunch of other things. We're going to go through an old school way of the way that it used to be done, which was an SEO example. Then we're going to go through why Google still runs the web, because they do. Then we're going to go through a new version of what we found as an AI search example, and the new kind of table stakes, which is what we're calling visibility. And then we're going to go through what LLMs lean on and what you can do today. And we all ended off with a takeaways and a checklist that includes some things that anyone can apply to their website in 2025, moving into 2026. Dave. So the hottest of hot takes is things that people have said throughout the entirety of SEO and its existence is SEO is dead, long live SEO. So I full-heartedly believe in this, is SEO has died more deaths in 2025 than it has in all its previous years, and it will continue to do so. I like to think of SEO as a philosophy and a way to look at the internet. So until we're doing agent to agent, which might be a future that we're moving towards as well, which also would have its own version of what I would like to call SEO. SEO will remain, I think, because SEO is still all these things. It used to be, and it still is. I took this from a slide for small businesses that I used to give a presentation under CamTech, this lovely hat that I lovely wear. And I've kind of pulled these into the year because I think that this is still what SEO is. The first 4 on the checklist here can all be driven by if you're using Chrome and if you're using Google Analytics in your website somewhere. Google can clone together all of this information and they know what's happening. So they know how much traffic your website gets, your site's history, what's happened through it, the ups and downs and things, how much time people spend on your site, your bounce rates, which was a thing at one point, how many pages per visit people have, the pogo sticking that people do back into the SERPs, the search engine ranking pages, and checking out things because people use the SERPs like a self-selector, right? This might be good, right? No? Okay, I'll go back and I'll find something else. This might be good. Okay, maybe I'll refine my search, right? And then, of course, usability of the website. All of these things, in my opinion, roll up to Chrome, and most people are logged into Chrome. And then number 2 is Google Analytics. Mostly was Universal Analytics, and then Google got sued into eternity and came out with the ever-loving piece of garbage in my mind that is Google Analytics 4. I will use it, and I have to use it because we need Google Analytics in our lives, but I don't like what they've done with it. The good pieces, without complaining too much, are the fact that you can track not just your website, but you can track along your app, and you can do things across both. So in the new version of the world that exists is people are not just doing websites, right? Like maybe you have a Chrome extension, like I have some beautiful Chrome extensions that are on here, right? Maybe you have a Chrome extension, so you can track that with Google Analytics as well as track your landing pages. It's where the web is going, and it's where the web is. So I completely agree with all the things that they do from this. Then we get down to what we used to call as traditional SEO. Number 1 being links. Links exist. It's the fabric of the internet. So until people click things that don't take them to different places of the internet, and it all just goes through LLMs or ChatGPT, which they're trying to do as the intent layer, for now, and still being, is people follow links through the web, and crawlers follow links through the web. So links are an important piece of the conversation. There are some things that go into it, and this could be a presentation in itself, and maybe I'll do one that go into it, but links are important. They're important even outside of SEO. They're important for your website. Then we get into on-page structure, which is the stuff that you can completely and utterly control. So SEOs spend a giant amount of time on these kinds of things, is making sure your H1s, your page structure, proper buttons, semantically connected clusters, hierarchy, all of these things that go into it. And we spend and toil over large amounts of things. I'm working through a redesign with the client now. So we put together some wireframes and some awesomeness to put that through to design and have all those things go through. These are wonderful that we get involved in the hierarchy parts of it, because I find it's easier to be involved earlier in the case than it is to be pulled in later and be like, but I want my breadcrumbs. Anyway, yeah, and it's another piece. Then we get into the new kind of things that are happening, which is topical relevance, aka keywords. Keywords, in my opinion, are kind of dead as far as we're talking about SEO terms, because you can't spam your way out of keywords at this point. Like me saying my name over and over again, I can't spam my way out of doing that anymore. I can't. It's just not a problem. It's not the way to rank in 2025 going into 2026. Is topical relevance. Is you have to talk about high-level topics and cover the topic endlessly. The example that I used yesterday before my video cut out was Reese's Pieces. Reese's Pieces. I eat a lot of Reese's Pieces. But the topical top part of Reese's would be Reese's peanut butter cups, because they're the OG, right? Reese's Pieces falls under as another topic within Reese's. So if you wanted to rank for Reese's Pieces, you would also have to talk about, if you wanted to rank for Reese's peanut butter cups, you would also have to talk about Reese's Pieces and all the other Reese's that they have out these days, because there's so many of them. So making sure that topical relevance falls through everything. And then lastly, you want to talk about your depth of content and the quality of it. There was a thing that Rayon used to post ages ago that we had to 10x our content. I think we need to 100x it. Is the bar just keeps getting higher and higher and higher and higher. So these were things of what SEO used to be, but still is. So there's also 200 plus other things. I don't even think we talk about like the algorithm pieces as much anymore. But there were a bunch of those that got released or found last year, and you can read all about those things out there. They've given us a lot of insight to these things, really. But how do we move into the new version of what we're calling SEO or whatever we're calling it? The biggest thing is, I like to say that we're in our remix phase. I posted it on LinkedIn last week, and that's what I was talking about. Intent is the big shift from keywords to topics. We like to talk about intent, is the why somebody's looking for something. If somebody's looking for Reese's Pieces, they could be looking for the ingredients of Reese's Pieces. They could be looking for buying Reese's Pieces. They could be looking for the allergy pieces to go along with Reese's Pieces. And those all have different intents to them. I like to live where I find a mixed intent. Whether or not those things are specific and are to be lived within is all up for debate in this whole new world that we're moving towards. But I like to live with a mixed intent, something that has maybe a little bit of informational, but maybe a little commercial. So like where to buy Reese's Pieces is obviously a commercial one, but something that's like a mixed one that has a little bit of both is really lovely. And then we move into deal start with discovery. So this is across LLMs too. Is if people can't find you, they can't choose you. And we'll go into a little bit more of that within LLMs. Then structure fuels retrieval. The same clarity that helps search helps LLMs. This is kind of moved into what we're calling chunking, because you need to make sure that your page is structured in a way that LLMs can read it and synthesize it and give those pieces back. Then we move into proof drives confidence. You need to prove that you are worth being in those spaces. You need to earn the trust of the people who are going to your website and not just have generic product pages. Those product pages need to have proof on them that you are the leader in the space, that you are doing the things that people want you to do. Those kinds of things lead to sales, conversions, and help support all the things throughout the funnel. And then we want to control what's accurate. There's a little bit of SEO that's going into making sure that the stuff that gets cited in LLMs is also correct. So we do a little bit of making sure that that happens throughout there too, because LLMs like to lie. They are not the be all end all, and they're a glamorized word ender, in my opinion. So we should be helping them by feeding them the right things and helping them control what is accurate in the spaces that we live and work in. Cool. So what's the stack that we were working in SEO or whatever we're calling the space is all of this is still useful. And honestly, this is an update from what used to be as well. Is number one is Google Analytics. I know I dunked on Google Analytics for saying that it's garbage. And that's just because I have a bad relationship with it. I spent like almost 13 years with with Universal Analytics, and I loved it deep in my soul. But that's a part of the web that does have to go away in order for Google Analytics 4 to take over. So I think everybody needs to have Google Analytics installed on their site. It tells you not only how organic users land, like I wrote in there, but it tells you what converts and what the other channels are doing and performing. And this is not just for organic, this is for LLMs too. We use a lot of this data to help inform decisions on LLMs and AI search and all these things that are happening. And I know there's a lot of conversations coming in about how that data gets into GA4, but we're working with what we got right now. So that is the information that we've been provided through GA4, and I am grateful for it. Also, there is a ton in GA4. You can also use it as an offshoot to make like Looker Studio dashboards. I love it. I love it for those reasons. Number two are the search consoles. Google Search Console is a non-negotiable in the SEO, GEO, LLMO, whatever world we're calling this. Non-negotiables, Google Search Console. Install it, live it, love it, enjoy it. Then on top of that, I would say to also include Bing Webmaster Tools. We've been installing it and having it running and looking into the data for it for all of our clients across that, and we will continue to do that. It provides a different perspective on how people are searching and using it and doing things. So the more data that we can get out of something like this, especially in this new world with LLMs, two of the biggest ones that are based off of Microsoft and Bing, to include that kind of data in there, I think the better we're going to be positioned in the future. Number three are SEO tools. These are both paid tools, and you do not have to sign up for them, but I honestly think having one of them or something similar is table stakes in 2025 moving into 2026. Ahrefs and SEMrush are both industry recognized tools throughout everything. Nobody's going to bat an eye in any C-level or executive level if you say you need to use Ahrefs or SEMrush. They are industry recognized tools. I think they're both great for different reasons. In my opinion, they require a different part of your brain to use. I enjoy Ahrefs just because I've been using it for so long. I'm a data-minded person. I used to be a developer, so I think that's just the part of my brain that goes towards Ahrefs. I find a lot of people also like to use SEMrush, especially if they're starting to dig into the SEO world. So either one, honestly, I'm not here to stick my hand up and say one over the other. Then lastly, is this lovely Chrome plugin called Detailed. The piece that I didn't add into this presentation that needs to have a hand up in the air too is Christina Azarenko's SEO Pro extension. also a very other option to this. Same as Ahrefs and SEMrush, it's a plugin that shows you the information from a different perspective. So I have found both of them very valuable. I just like the way that Details puts theirs out personally, but I would highly suggest either one. I think they're both great. Cool. Those are the stacks, and this is the table stakes of kind of where we were and where we're going. We're going to keep going. So what do we call ourselves in 2025? I don't know. Intent to me is the one that matters, though. My whole thing with GEO these days is I had friends and family members and things who drove GEOs. Those green machines that were made of more plastic than metal. And a stiff wind, if you drove past an 18-wheeler, would blow you off the highway. It makes me feel unsafe. So I have these preconceived notions about GEO in the back of my head. I also, every time I hear the word GEO, I can't get The Simpsons out of my head. Please don't take this off anything that I'm uploading this to, but please let me say Ned Flanders says, I can't, it's a GEO, because he can't go any faster because he's driving a GEO, right? Also, National Geographic has another thing called Nat Geo. It also makes me think of that. There's also a bunch of things if you Google GEO that show up, as well as some SEO things. But a lot of the big people out there are starting to use GEO, so that's fair. Also, on the AEO front, American Eagle Outfitters uses AEO, but there's a bunch of people out there that use AEO as whatever we're evolving this into. Webflow publish an entire front-to-back guide for folks to use for AEO. So I'm not here to make a stand on what we're using throughout all of these things. I'm just trying to give the intent and the context of where we came from and to understand where we're hopefully going, which is into something that we're going to call this space. Then on top of all of these words that came through, somebody on LinkedIn decided to also add in GEO is dead, which hasn't even had like 6 months to live on the internet. And he decided to call it Long Live Gem. So everyone, I think, just wants to be able to stick their hand up and say, I came up with some new term for this space and where it's going. I think there's a lot going on right now, so I don't think now is the time to really stick our hand in the sand and say one way or the other. But I may lose that battle, and I'm okay with that, honestly. I'm okay with not being 100% right in this. I call myself an organic person of some sort, and I do love the word AI search personally, so that's what I've been using. So from the old school version of thing, let's go through an example of how SEO used to work and still kind of does work. Let's use one of my competitors that I've gone through a bunch of times with clients that I've worked with is Ring Central. They have an incredible internet footprint, and they show up for something called cloud phone systems, right? They show up for all of these things, and you wouldn't get these monthly visits and the average duration and domain created. That's just a plugin I have on my thing, but this is pretty traditional search, right? You Google something, everybody knows kind of about keywords without knowing that they're called keywords, and they kind of do these things. They type them in, you get a result, you click on the result. From that result, you get traffic. Congratulations, and organic positions. We would track that by organic positions. This is a graph from Ahrefs because I use Ahrefs. Most of the graphs in here will be from Ahrefs just because that's what I use. This is the charts that you would want to be able to show people, right? Is up and to the right that you have gained X amount of organic positions plus the traffic that goes along with them. Plus, you would be optimizing your homepage for all of these things. The all-in-one AI communications platforms. All of these IP telephony companies seem to be moving towards AI and lending them in. I've worked in the space for a while, so I see this happening, right? But at the end of the day, Google still runs the web, and they do 100%, because I took this from a chart and a graph that I saw a couple months ago, so I do need to update this, but this is still a big part of what we're talking about, is the amount of daily searches that go through Google is 78% of where people are searching in this day and age. So as much as we're saying that LLMs and AI searches are, the future, which they may be, they will be, we'll have to see that given the data that we have. But ChatGPT is only 14.3% of the daily searches that are going through the web, as opposed to still the 78.3% that are going through Google. So Google is still taking up the lion's share of what's happening here. What I do love about this graph, though, because I'm an underdog fan, is I love seeing a Yahoo in here. Oh, Yahoo, right? And DuckDuckGo, our privacy search engine friends. Also Brave, another one that's fun. And then Perplexity rounds out the list. Also Bing, again, number 3 on the list is Bing. You're not installing Bing Webmaster Tools, but it's the number 3 place where people are doing searches. Let's go. Get that information. Get that information for your own and use it. Leverage it, right? So the big shift is, from what I've seen, regardless of what we're calling it, is that search engines always felt like a mall. We've all seen movies about a mall. Mallrats is one of my favorite movies in the entire universe. That kid is on the escalator again, right? But we've all been to malls. I love a mall. But what do you go to a mall for? You go to a mall to get like a juice. And then maybe you go over and get like a new t-shirt. You wander into a Uniqlo. My conversation this morning was about talking about Uniqlo, right? Then maybe you go and get some lunch. Or if you have a kid with you, you have to go see something shiny. Maybe hopefully a bookstore instead of a shiny toy store. But that's how search engines feel, right? It's a one-all, be-all, end-all of all the things. You can go through a mall, you're there with a whole bunch of people, you're all looking for your things, and you have to go into the little stores to get what you're looking for. As opposed to the shift to AIs and LLMs, which feels more like a one-to-one conversation that you're having with a concierge, you know? I'm here, I've been traveling here from X and I want to go do Y, right? What is the best place to go do that? Or what do you feel about this? Or what do you feel about that? And it feels like more of a one-to-one conversation. And this to say that neither one of them are invalid by this new shift that we're going into. It just means that this is how I'm kind of looking at it from a top level. It also means that the funnel has changed, right? We all talk about tofu, mofu, bofu, kind of tofu being top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. And we used to align all our content to that. But I think all of this new thing has increased an invisible funnel that we're still trying to figure out. The talk that I gave last week in Ottawa had a wonderful funnel on the back of the sweater that we were given, and every single talk that we talked about all talked about funnels, and we all kind of came at it from a different perspective, and I loved it, that we're all just kind of taking our own perspective of where we see the internet and trying to think of different ways that the funnel is moving. I think that the funnel is still kind of invisible for now, but what I'm going with currently is we go from discoveries to mentions, not necessarily traffic and links, to impressions, which is what I literally just reported on to a client this morning of their AIOs, to trust, which is something that has to be gained, doesn't come out of the woodwork, out of nowhere, to conversion. So this is what I'm thinking is the new funnel, but we'll see how this all rolls out. I am also happy not to stand on these things because we are in such a shift. So I'm not going to be the one who's like this or nothing else. I'm happy to be wrong in this because I know that the space is changing. This is just what we're going with as of right now. So let's use an example given this new conversion funnel is in AI search. And it comes with some fun little takeaways too. Is let's use like a keyword kind of thing, because I find that AI search uses a lot of conversational more language and a lot of questions. Questions is the big thing that we're pulling out of it from our tools, but let's use something a little more generic, like best tools for async communication. Big giant keyword, big giant space that a lot of tools want to live within. And that's what we see through Google, right? We see the standard operators that show through here. We see Slack, Loom, Asana, Notion, all these things that show up that we would expect to be async communication. When I gave this talk last week, I asked how many people were sitting on Slack in the audience, and like 80% of them raised their hand. It is an amazing async communication tool, right? Then we go through Perplexity. Perplexity, I did the search, and the stuff that shows up is Slack, Loom, same kind of things that we would expect it to be. But then we move into kind of a new verse that shows up. When I did the search through ChatGPT, I got a new contender, which I had not seen in organic search or in Perplexity so far, is I saw Twist. Twist is a different platform that I would have never seen in that list, as well as in an AI overview in Google shows Twist. These guys, by all account, should not show up in the top rankings because they have a host of SEO issues Their canonicals are broken. Their homepage says home at the top of it. They don't have very many issues or very much content. Their depth of content is not amazing. Work communication that wouldn't distract you all day. They don't use the words async communication anywhere in here, but they show on LLMs. I'd love to do a deep dive on these guys, so stay tuned on another video where maybe if they stick around, I'll show some more information about how they've evolved through the space or maybe do an update this. But what I did find in looking through Twist is they are running a horizontal strategy, which I found was interesting. They do have a brand because they have another brand that they're working with that does a different kind of platform thingy, but they're all working together with each other. So they have multiple domains that are working on a horizontal strategy with this big overarching company. So that could be a hint as to why they're doing that, but I don't have enough data to prove that at the moment. I just find it's very interesting that somebody with a ton of SEO issues that I would have otherwise signed off on is showing up in all of these AI and LLMs, meaning that you're invisible if you're not visible. Visibility is the new table stakes moving forward, as much as that's just where we're living. And visibility is not equal across the internet anymore. This is a study from Ahrefs. Again, more Ahrefs, gosh. It sounds like I work for them. I do not. I have only given them exorbitant amounts of money in the past. But from this study, it was actually really helpful, is that 1/3 of the pages that are cited in LLMs have zero search presence, which means that you can just be somebody out there and you could actually influence in LLMs, which means it might be a whole new world that we're moving into, which is actually really exciting if you have a small business out there too, right? Some of these key terms in Google have made these walled gardens that are very difficult to get into. Try to get into the VPN space. Good luck, right? Unless you're coming up with something crazy out there that's way out of the gates. There's some very difficult spaces to get into. Money things, visas, crypto, VPNs. These are some of the hardest things to get into. Credit cards. Did I already say credit cards? Yeah. Some of the hardest spaces to get into and crack into as far as SEO. Also weed, especially in Canada. It's legal. Cannabis. I'm just going to say it. Very hard spaces to crack into. But seeing that 1 out of 3 of the pages cited in LLMs have zero search presence gives kind of a different perspective on this. So I found this incredibly interesting, and that there might be opportunities for this kind of stuff in the future. The other piece about LLMs that I wanted to talk about, given the 4 screenshots that I just showed you that were from LLMs, kind of, is the results are not consistent. Like it said in this tweet below, is I've also found the same thing, is that your AI is different than my AI, and they get very personalized very quickly, right? I tried to replicate some of the results that Lily Ray was posting a little while ago, and I wasn't able to replicate them because my AI is very much trained on a different thing, and it's going to tell me different things. And that's what we're seeing down here, is that 10 out of 10 times you might get different answers, right? There's going to be some sort of, obviously, like table stakes of how much that it's going to show, that how many times your stuff will show over that 10. So we're still learning all these stats that come through. But to his point, and I agree with him, in AI, position 1 doesn't exist. We don't know what that looks like at this point. So what did we learn from doing this little experiment? Is that we're working with a whole bunch of different systems that pull from different places. I'm sorry if I have a lot of unknowns from this talk, but there are. It's SEO, we knew. SEO existed for 20 plus some odd years. These AI systems haven't been around for 20 plus years. They haven't been around for 5 years. Gemini has been around for a while, but it's been called a whole bunch of different things. And even Google is playing around with it. I gave a report this morning to an enterprise company that the biggest takeaway that we took away was that the SERPs are changing constantly. Google is playing around. All of these people are playing around within the space, and the new models are coming out all the time. And then the integrations that connect to all these models are also changing all the time. So there's a lot of shifting happening at the moment. So it's really hard to stick your nail in and say that this is happening because of this. That's my biggest takeaway from this, is that everything is moving at a very fast pace and everything is changing. Again, this goes back to the shift. The mall, which actually looks a lot like the Eaton Center, but I generated these with AI. That does look like a lot like the Eaton Center in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, for anybody looking. I'm Canadian and I love my country, so I just think it looks like the Eaton Center. Search engines, are a lot like the mall. You have a lot of spaces you can go to. You can do them quickly. You can get in, get out, do what you want to do, versus AIs and LLMs that feel like me, that they're much more personal, like a concierge that you can talk to and you can have a direct conversation with. Hopefully you're not lining up on a line like this to go through, because ChatGPT is always there for you, but that's just what I'm saying. So, given all this, I know I've given you a lot of, I don't know what's happening out here in the world. But what does work for LLMs? So given what we do know, what actually works so far? What I do know that works so far is product data and proof. A big thing that we're working on is making sure that product pages are all elevated. I've seen so many generic product pages out there. Please stop making generic product pages. Tell me what your product does. Tell me who it is, who it isn't for. Tell me, have a stance. And don't tell me in generic, like end-to-end communication kind of words. Tell me who your product is for. Also make sure you include pricing, specs, documentation, anything that clearly defines what you do and provides verifiable details. Less generic messaging. I love a copywriter as much as you do, but tell me what you do. I'm not going to make an Arnold Schwarzenegger joke of who's your daddy and what does he do, but like we all need that information. I need less like end-to-end communications. I need like that you help people with X, you do this and you've helped X businesses save X amount of money over a time with your product. And then this one's going to be a little bit contentious, but I still will hang on to this until the AI databases and stuff that they're doing update to a different version of whatever they're doing. But directories seem to be a place that people are using a bunch of their time these days, showing up in places like Crunchbase, G2, Capterra, Wikipedia, all these places across the web that you can A, get a link, B, get a citation of your brand somewhere in there, C, can have an explainer of what your company does and why it's valuable to users. And then D, did I say get a link? Oh, and then D is also get reviews from people, from real users who are going to say words about your business that you would not get elsewhere. We have a client who's running an always-on campaign for G2, and I think it's fantastic. It's slow moving, but I think it will pay off in the end. The traffic to all these directory places is diminishing through search, and that has been reported widely throughout the internet. But I think the contextuality of what these directories or third-party platforms do to the AIs and the LLMs is helpful in building the semantic web of the internet, the connections that connect everything together. Also, if you're looking for a directory link, Is There an AI for That is made by another Canadian SEO. So add your website to Is There an AI for That. Could get you a mention, could get a link, could be helpful for you. Really great one that I've been using. Number 3 is Bing versus Google. Since Bing does power, it doesn't power most of the model training data. I got to already update this. But it does power like ChatGPT and Copilot, Microsoft being Microsoft. I think Bing information, like I've said twice before in this presentation, is helpful. This may be the hill that I die on, and I may come out completely wrong on this, but I think it's really helpful to have more data, and Bing, who had Bing on their 2025 like bingo card being an important thing? I did not. I don't like using Teams personally. I do with clients because I have to, but I don't like it. I'd rather use a Google ecosystem of some sort. I enjoy a Google ecosystem since I am an SEO. I even have an Android phone. So that's just the way that I live. But Bing is a place where you can, where you should be putting in some of your information. Then, the last one is reputation platforms. And this does not just mean, review sites, like I said, for the Crunchbase's G2 Capterras. This also means like forums and media mentions. This is not a talk about Reddit. I could do a whole other talk about Reddit. But my opinion, another thing I'm going to stand on is I think marketers are going to ruin Reddit in the next 6 months to a year, if we have not already. Reddit is not meant to be taken over by us as marketers. It's really not. If you want to put some time and effort into Reddit, make a username, go find the Reddits that would be applicable to your brand and just start having conversations in there without it being salesy. That's the most things that I would like to tell clients to do. And that's what I do, is I just go in there and I try to be helpful. Literally is all you can do. I also do have a list of all the sites that I think you should be on. So I'll add that as another thing at the end of this talk. So given all the things that we know what LLMs lean on today, what can you do on your website and action on based off of this? Back to the funnels. This is my new version of what I'm calling the funnel. Is you go from discoveries to mentions to impressions to trust conversion. How does that break down? That breaks down into kind of a framework that we have been running with for more than 2 years now, is breaking that down into buying questions or pre-buying questions, actually, which is even more helpful. Decision support, helping people with their decision and having the information on your website to support their decisions. Publishing for retrieval instead of just crawling, including crawling as your base, but also for retrieval. And then also including external proof and trust. Then my bonus is build once and distribute forever. Thank you, Ross Simmons. We'll get there. So number one is diagnosing your buyer's questions. And this is the biggest thing for SEO and LLMs and GEO and LLMO, whatever we're calling this, I find, is finding the questions that people would use to purchase your product before they want to purchase it. The biggest takeaways that we've found from this is every salesperson or most people that are running around the internet have some sort of AI note taker running for them. There will be a transcript coming out of this video that I'm doing. There's another AI note taker. Take that information and put it through some sort of AI or LLM or notebook LLM if you don't want it to be public through the internet. And find the questions that are being asked by sales or your prospects and put those questions and answers on your website. You don't know what your prospects might be asking, and you don't know unless you ask them. This is the second level of asking them, right? You're not spending time, going around and doing customer interviews, which is also really important too. So if you have those customer interviews, even better. But we have found incredible insights from just taking a couple Fireflies note takers from sales folks and creating content around them. To that point as well is find the friction. In those calls, you will also find why people didn't go with the product, hopefully. So you will find and be able to align those trust signals and be able to do that. This is just marketing. You could also find what people want to include. Since I work in B2B SaaS a lot, we find integrations is something that people always want. They want to include their Slack. They want to push whatever it is to their Notion boards. They want to do, X or Y and Z, Y. So a lot of that stuff comes out of customer calls or prospect calls or something that you're having with that. Another place that you can get things from is support. Support and sales are amazing for all these things. They both have incredible amounts of information and you can use that. Then we talk about aligning the visibility with the decisions. Then you can take all the information that you've got with that, and then you can structure it for whichever stage of the journey that fits within that. From first questions to confident choices, right? What are the prospects asking before a sale? Which fits into all of this. Then my favorite one is covering the alternatives. I love an alternative page. And this is not fancy LLM fanciness. This has been going for ages. We've been making alternative pages for ages. I love an alternative pages. Publish content that names your competitors or names a versus. If you don't want to talk about your competitors directly, you could just say versus the generic, right? Explains the trade-offs. It helps people understand why you're the choice as opposed to them, and surfaces it all up. I love these things because you can use a table. God, I love a table. You can point to why you're better, faster, stronger. Thank you, Daft Punk. Than all of those other things out there. And you can kind of do it from your own words. We've done this so often with clients that one of our clients got a cease and desist letter. So it made me, at first I was like, oh, nuts, this isn't great. But they were like, I love this. We're taking up space, right? We also find this with when the ads teams are running competitor campaigns. You got to understand that you're gonna make a little bit of space. When I gave this talk last week, Brent, who gave the paid side of this talk, also said the same thing. Like if you're going to run competitor campaigns, be sure to know that you're going to get some blowback from that. So I think it's good to do this kind of thing and take up more space because alternative pages are great. Next on the list is publishing decision support. So helping people with all of those calls and all that data to create content that helps buyers choose confidently. Then this gets into some of the old school SEO stuff that we were talking about. That's also new school. Publish content for the cluster. Cluster. One of my favorite tools on the entire internet is Keyword Insights. And I have not mentioned them until now because I feel like they're still a secret in the corner and they don't want to be. I just hold on to them. But they help me create a connected set of pages based off of all the topic research that I can do and all the buying research and customer research to help create sets of pages that bring together comparisons, guides, FAQs, use cases. And all those things reinforce the page to the topic. I love it. Big fan. Then also show proof. The more that you can include data, love data. Okay, hi. Hopefully that didn't make a difference to you, but my recording stopped. So this is an example of how I would think about clustering that content. Is take a keyword like SaaS marketing agency. Already it fits a mixed intent. It fits informational and commercial. This is a very difficult keyword to rank for because it is a 61. Anything above like 30 in Ahrefs is pretty hard. But this is just used for example purposes. The traffic potential is about 2.8K per month, and the parent topic is the same as the overview for this topic. So meaning that it's a height of a topic. Now, based off of this, you of 2025 SEO is you don't just rank for SaaS marketing agency. You also have to include all these other terms within it. This is topical ranking of it all. And then you have to think about the questions that people are going to rank for. And that's why we want to layer in all the questions that people are asking that hopefully has something to do with this topic and have all this support content that goes in there because it makes richer, better, faster, stronger content. Next one is publishing for retrieval. We're not just publishing for crawling at this point. We're making your content easy for humans and bots and retrieval to understand. So this is why I included those questions when you're looking for something. You want more than just a keyword. You want the questions. We've been using an AI tracking software just to pull out prompts and stuff for it. And that's been really helpful for us to align those questions with the content that we want people to create and help them support that. We also want to make sure that this is kind of re-unlearning a bunch of our keyword stuff in there. Keywords do have a point and still in here, but most people in LLMs use natural phrasing to get things done. So it has to match the way that people are actually using the software to fit into that. And the intent. I love a mixed intent again. Then we structure for clarity. I know as an SEO, it should be legal for me to say less text, but shorter paragraphs, defined sections, descriptive headings, FAQs, be it easier to find the answer. Because LLMs are taking like sections of your site, I think it's really helpful to have that stuff be easier to find. This is also just UX guidelines, right? Have your stuff be easier to find within the pages. Remember recipe sites that people hated because SEOs ruined them? Same thing. Don't include your long intros. Make your recipes easy to find. That stuff only worked for a certain amount of time. As it should always be structuring for clarity and making sure the end user will find it. Next on the list is adding evidence and context, adding stats, quotes, and specifics that makes your content credible. That's a little bit of the same stuff that we've talked about above. And then the big one that we're starting to, that we didn't think was going to happen, but is actually happening, is schema. Schema is a bunch of code that you can add into your website that reinforces the semantic connections of it. Mark up your pages with FAQ schema, product schema, how to, or you could even do my favorite, which I don't think really works anymore, but it did work for a client at some point, is star schema. So we did this on a competitor page, on an alternatives page, my favorite kind of page, and then we added in star schema. And this is still the #1 ranking if you look up that brand versus the other brand that's in the title there, which I'm not going to mention out loud. It's still, that worked. I don't think that Google likes the star scheme anymore, but it still shows up in certain cases. Cool. Last on the list is to earn trust from external factors, to building an authority beyond your brand. This has always been the case. We've just called it link building before, but I don't know what we're calling it now. So strengthening your offsite signals, including like if you can get into Wikipedia and you can have some mentions in there, or even Wikidata. Wikidata is a section that goes along with Wikipedia. Review sites, partner listings, credible media. Again, this is the same playbook. Are you part of a chamber of commerce? I joined my own chamber of commerce in my tiny little town that I live in because it gives me a link, and because it's the right thing to do because I love them and I think they're wonderful. But I also get a link. It's fantastic. Publish verifiable resources. Use consistent naming throughout all of them. If your company name is Just Joyce Inc. and you use Just Joyce Incorporated, those are two different things as far as Google is going to look at. Try to use the same thing. This is local kind of thinking, right? Is to make sure that that stuff is in there. I'm working with a brand who uses 4 different things throughout there, and that's fine, but I would love to control and have like a little bit of control over there. Next is adding testimonials that travel. Is if you can use stuff off the G2 and Capterra and use those testimonials, you can use them on your website. That would be great. Or get them on Google. If you can get Google reviews, I've been doing this for years. Get Google reviews and make sure that you can use them elsewhere. I have done this throughout the entirety of my company. Is we use real names, real photos, real titles, all those things to make sure that they are real people throughout the internet. Also, ask your friends for a LinkedIn recommendation. I've been doing a bunch of them, and friends have been doing them for me. People I've worked with have been doing them for me. I think they're wonderful. Don't underestimate a LinkedIn reputation. Then lastly, like we said, in other things, is reputation websites. I still think they're valuable. This may be something that goes the way of the dinosaur depending on how the traffic goes through these websites. But for now, I still think they're great, and that people pull these things through on their website. So this is from Clap. Of course, it has 2 A's in it because we're working in SaaS companies, and nobody ever spells anything properly. I wouldn't be surprised if it's CLA. Anyway, you either take out the vowels or you add more in. They've added this banner to their website to show all the wonderful things that people have said about their content and their company. All this to say is you don't make just great content anymore. You have to make awesome content. And some traffic by category that's been gone through. This is from Siege Media, another company I really love throughout the internet. Some content and some content frameworks that have worked are guides and playbooks, comparisons. Yes, love an alternative page. Again, troubleshooting. If somebody has a problem, you can solve it with your content, right? Like if you find that those AI note taker things come back with problems that people are having, and you can write out a troubleshooting guide on it. Hello, let's do that. Price and cost stuff, templates, checklists, calculators, love that. I built like a lead gen tool, which I'm going to rebuild again because I have 500 ideas for it. Love that kind of stuff. Webinars, events, that usually goes to a webinar events team as well, but also really great to do. Takes a lot of work to get to that point. How-to tutorials, announcements, all these things are fantastically made, awesome content. And the last piece about this, which is the plug that I give in a lot of talks that I do these days, is build once and distribute forever. From the man, the myth, the legend, Ross Simmons. He wrote a book on this. You need to make sure that your content just doesn't serve one purpose. It can't sit in a blog and sit there and die on the vine. It can't do that. My longest held belief now, and I said this on a Siege Media podcast this year, is that I hate the word blog. Just call it content and then make it awesome content. It can live in a directory that we call it a blog just because that makes sense in the nomenclature that you have there. But you can't just build the one piece and let it die on a vine. So if you build this wonderful comparison page, then make it work for you. Make it a LinkedIn post about how you guys found that your comparisons worked throughout that thing, you know? Or make it a YouTube video, make it a short. It's literally what I'm doing here. I made this presentation last week in Ottawa, and now I posted it on LinkedIn and said, would anybody want a video of this? And some people said, yeah, they would. So I'm going to make this into a video and I'm going to upload it, and then I'm going to snip it into shorts, and I'm going to use it as much as I possibly can. Build once and distribute forever. Thank you, Ross, for distributing that. Also, the event that I was at from BDC is they had distribution is everything on the back of their sweatshirt. So Ross, they also agree with you. Everyone does. So given all this information, where do I start? I am a company out there and I need help to be able to do this, or I'm an SEO who has no idea how to evolve in this new space. Where do you start? You start with a new stack. Number one, it's based off of the same things that we already knew existed. Google Analytics 4, or whatever analytics software you wish to use. There's a lot of great software that works for product, that doesn't work for Google Analytics. I just like Google Analytics because it's so vetted throughout the universe. But I think there is a lot to say for this space that is coming up, and there will be a lot of change. Then the new space is AI tracking, or AI search tracking. We started to use one called Peak just because it surfaces up a whole bunch of prompts that we can layer into our strategies and use throughout the universe. I've seen a lot of people also using Profound. There is a new LLM or AI tracking software that comes out every 5 minutes right now. Amplitude came out with a free one that layers on top of all of their stuff, and it seems like it's some sort of arms race right now. There's probably 5 that came out while I was doing this talk, so I'm going to have to go back and check them all out. But this is a very, very new space, and I've even seen a whole bunch of people in Y Combinator getting money for these kinds of problems. So there will be a whole new set of hopefully really amazing things that come out of this new space. Then there's also Ahrefs and SEMrush. Both of them have AI tracking included in both of their suites. I've kind of tried both of them, and I don't think anybody nails it on the head. And this is not a knock against Ahrefs or SEMrush or Peak or Profound, but I don't think anybody's got it right throughout the internet yet. So we're just kind of pulling little pieces from where we can to include all of this visibility stuff that we're kind of moving towards. And then that's why there's this big question mark there. Who knows what's next? I know even at the talk that I gave in Ottawa, there was a person there who's working on something in this space for solving these problems. I think it's $1 billion problem right now, is following the attribution throughout the entire funnel of whatever this funnel ends up being. It might not be the funnel that I have explained throughout this talk, but I like where this one's going personally. So I'm hoping that there's some sort of funnel and something to track something throughout the existence of this now, which will be phenomenal when we get there. So given all of this, here's a checklist that you guys can all take away, and you don't have to write it out or screenshot it or anything because I have it all as a Google Doc in the next slide. But this is everything that I went through from top to bottom in this presentation, and hopefully it is helpful. It includes all the things that we talked about and where we find that people are going to in this new version of the internet. So given all of this, I'll put this in the link of wherever I upload this as well, is you can find the doc and the slides, and I also included a product questions list that if you don't have sales or you don't have somebody that you can glom off information from support, sales, all of those kinds of things, is just a seed of a product question checklist that you can start to go through to make sure that your product pages and all of the content throughout your website, including your blogs or whatever we're calling them, answers those questions so you can get more visibility, more of the right people coming through to your properties, more conversions, and more money. Thank you very much. I'm going to offer and end this off with Pedro, because I love raccoons. Raccoons are my favorite. And if you have any questions at the end of this, please put it below this video, or send me a message. I exist throughout the internet. I'm very visible. I even have an AI that you can talk to. If you go to my Twitter, it's like the pinned tweet that you can talk to and ask questions about. I'm happy to help anybody throughout the ecosystem that we're moving into and change. I'm keeping my eyes on all of it and trying to keep our clients up to date with all of it. And hopefully this is helpful. So I'm going to hopefully publish more of these and probably another one in 6 months. So I'll see you then. Thanks. Take care.